Hello and welcome. I'm really excited because I am going to be publishing my new chapter book, Emeralds in the Attic. I was inspired to write Emeralds in the Attic based on something that my mother told me when I was a child. I remember she used to always go out to dances every Saturday night, and she would dress to the nines. She had really beautiful dresses and sometimes gowns, depending on what type of occasion it was or event she was going to. And I would always just, I want to have the same type of clothes. And one time my mom said, Loretta, up in the attic, there is a treasure chest and it's full of jewels and tiaras and ball gowns and things like that. Ever since she told me that, I wanted to get up there and look at that treasure chest. I wanted to see what was in it, but I never got to. And that's basically what inspired me to write the story. It didn't start out as a chapter book. It was a short story based on the information that my mother gave me. And when my mother passed away, I had to do a reading, and I decided to just expand on Emeralds in the Attic a bit, and I used that as her eulogy. The premise for the whole book is that what we see as riches aren't necessarily what is truly valuable in life. It's the people that we love and the times we share. The characters in the story are loosely based on people that I know. The story is a combination of my mother and me. In the beginning, we learn that Dory is getting over an illness, and so she has to stay in bed. And my mother actually did have rheumatic fever when she was a child, and she had to stay in bed for 3 years. Some of the experiences that are shared with the princess are my own experiences with my friend. So it's a combination between my mother and myself. Molly, the fairy princess, is based on my friend Nancy from college. Nancy, if I could use one word to describe Nancy, it would be effervescent. That was her through and through. And when I was creating this story, I wanted to include Nancy. And so I designed Molly. She has some of Nancy's mannerisms, and she looks like Nancy. Cornelius Crumb is probably a combination of a few of the people that I've met in my life, but not anyone specific. The prince is based on my first crush. When I was younger, my parents used to go to the Legion every Saturday night, and they had a dance, and there would be a live band performing. There was this one band, and the bass player there was this cute Polish guy that I just crushed on. His name was Jerry, and I based the prince on him for no other reason than he was my first love. And the song that is in the book, the lyrics were from a poem that I wrote about that experience. So, yeah. There's a couple of adventures that the princess and Dory go on. The first is China for some authentic Chinese food. And the reason I put this in the story, it was really important for me to add it because Nancy and I actually did do this. And most of the events that took place, or how I describe their experience in this Chinese restaurant, actually happened. Nancy and I, when we did go out to Chinatown in Toronto, way back when, we had a great time, and we had so much fun. So I wanted to include that in the story as an homage to Nancy. The destination that I chose for the castle, for the ball, it's called Vistula Castle, and there's a river in Poland called the Vistula River, and I just wanted to honor my dad's homeland. Why did I call it Emeralds in the Attic? My eldest brother was born in May. My other brother was born in May. And I was born in May. And guess what the birthstone of May is? Emeralds. I hope you enjoyed finding out about how Emeralds in the Attic came to be. It's time now for me to share with you a little sample of the story. Here is the introduction, my mother's story. When I was a child, my mother would tell me that up in the attic was a treasure chest full of precious jewels. There were diamonds, rubies, and pearls, every type of gem one could imagine. But of all those, she claimed that the emeralds in the attic were the ones she cherished the most. More than anything, I wanted to get my little hands on those gems. Often, I would dream about being up in the attic and opening that magnificent chest. In it, I would find jewelry of every shape and size. Then, piece by piece, I would try it on. I admit, sometimes my vision would include a handsome prince who would sweep me off my feet, and we would dance all through the night. Whenever I could sneak into my parents' bedroom, I would stare up at the hatch that led to the attic, wondering when I would get to see all those treasures. On the nights that my mother would tuck me into bed, I'd ask her to tell me about how she got the jewels. Then, without hesitation, she would share her story with me. Well, Loretta, at a young age, I had to stay in the hospital for a long time. When I was able to go home, the doctor told me that I had to stay in bed and rest. I wasn't allowed to run around or play outside. Though it was difficult, I would usually pass the time by painting or reading a book. Still, I was lonely. Often I would look out of the window and see kids playing, having fun. I really wanted to be out there with them. Mother usually paused at that point and reflected for a second. Then she would give a deep sigh, followed by an emerging smile as she continued. One day, while I was lying in bed, something very strange happened. I was reading a book and felt myself dozing off when suddenly I was startled by a loud thump. Instantly, I opened my eyes as wide as I could, trying to see what made that sound.